right, we're gonna call to order strategic planning. We're gonna call together. You know, it's just council business and the room is so much quieter. It's just business.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah. So, before we get moving, can I get a motion on the minutes, please?
So moved.
Second.
All right, minutes will stand without objection. So, first thing we are going to talk about today, council, and welcome back from Nashville.
By the grace.
When did you get back?
Last night.
You're kidding.
I got back last night.
My daughter finally got power on last evening.
It's folks that still don't have power. They're expecting it to be like another week and a half.
Oh,
before they get it.
God.
Valentine's Day, isn't it?
Just in time. Just in time for it. So
I think it's what they said.
it makes you real appreciative for EPB.
Very good.
First thing we're going to talk about today is special exceptions permits. Most of this, I think, will be led by our attorney about the fact that we're struggling with how might we, when we say no to a special exceptions permit, do we have the authority to say no, but we have it set up in our processes that we want to see those. And so this has come up, council, most often as it relates to liquor stores. But we do also have special exceptions permits for other things, and at I believe as a council, and we can change our minds, but historically this council has wanted to have the ability to have special exceptions permits for certain things. So, Phil, will you walk us through some of the ideas that you have for how we might choose to change our language for how we assess whether or not we're going to give a special exceptions permit, and your recommendations?
You know, as y'all are familiar, we've had a ruling at least that said that it's basically an administrative matter whenever y'all are looking at a special exception for a liquor store or any entity in that regard, and as long as something meets the provisions of your code that y'all have adopted, you're basically supposed to take an administrative act and approve them. And that is the issue that comes into being each time. Exactly how far can you go on a discussion without becoming what is called arbitrary and capricious under the zoning requirements here that we have under state law. So y'all have a few provisions where there are special exceptions that have to be granted only by the city council. And one of those is the liquor store provision that we have in the code. And I believe there are other provisions. I don't have my sections up here right now. I will find those for you here on the city code here of the authority that you have to look at on there. But the provisions in the code, in my mind here, is do you want to keep having those come before you, or do you want those to go, just like other special exceptions permits, go to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and there's a determination by that body that goes forward. Obviously, y'all can contact, because there are 9 members on that board, just like there are on the city council, and give them your concerns that you might have in those matters, but whether you want to continue to have those items going forward.
And I would, may I say something? Okay. I would add that with BOZA, they have very specific rules that they follow. So even if a council person calls and said, I don't feel good about this, they have much less latitude because they are created by us for the rules that we create. Councilwoman Dotley.
Yes, in God's favor today, I actually have something on future considerations that I sat next to you because I was going to ask you about
All
this
right,
before.
very good.
But I have a liquor store coming up.
You sure do, with a great name, if I remember.
Yes, and so I think they should still continue to come to us because we are able to research more information than typically RPA or the Board of Zoning Appeals. For instance,
Yes.
in this case, and I'm going to make my statement today about it, but I was able to, because we know the areas, like we know our district, we know what's there. And so for this particular liquor store coming up, I knew, because it was like 2 blocks from where I used to live, that there was a lot of activity, a lot of criminal things happening. And so I was able to contact CPD and get the number of calls for service, the criminal incidents, and all this information. And so with that, in our, when we get the RPA report, even though it says, it's only X amount away from the school or X amount away, because of that, they approve it, but that doesn't sometimes align with the actual actions that are happening in the community. So for instance, but one of the parts of this, which is what I like, in our code, chapter 5, section 5, 109C, 2, because I'm gonna cite that specifically.
That is good.
Is that the consistency of the proposal with the intent and purpose of this article to promote the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. And because those 4 things, when we see something coming up in our district that does not promote those things, I think we should have the ability to deny it. And so that is what I am, like that what I be telling y'all today, but I'm gonna give y'all all the numbers later on. But so like this one that's coming up, I plan to not support it because it doesn't support that. So when it comes to us, would it be reasonable, I guess, for us to cite that code
Yes.
as a reason for denial based on the evidence that we have? Because then we're able to get with, I didn't even get with code enforcement but I could have done code enforcement, public work, got with all our core departments and said, because RPA is just going to look at what they're supposed to look at, and they do a good job, and thanks to their report though, it gives me the avenue to say I'm not supporting this. So I think that they should continue to come to us because that gives us more leeway to say this does not fit the character of our community. Like it's having a Big Papa's and again I'll discuss this later, having that convenience store have one on Dodge Avenue versus having an Imbibe on Broad Street, 2 different neighborhoods and 2 different things. So I can support this one because I see the development and see what's happening here versus over here where it's just the wild east, I guess. So so I think that we should keep it, but I think whenever we deny it, for feel's sake and for ours, that we cite the code, cite the reason. So that's my spiel on it.
So,
They just so happened to come up today.
That was fabulous. So council, on the question that Phil posed and Councilwoman Dotley has answered for herself, what is the general thought around, do we want to continue having special exceptions permits come to council? Can we get a fist of 5 on 5 is yes, I want them?
Yes.
Okay, so it looks like Councilman Harvey has a
You
question.
said still come to council?
Yes.
Oh,
So
two.
for fist of 5, for the notes, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 folks be like, we are convinced we want to keep seeing these.
Yes.
And your name will be on the lawsuits, just. be
Well,
aware.
no, because we're not.
That's fine, right?
No, wait, we're not finished with
My
the
name is Chip
conversation.
Henderson.
We're just,
That's fine.
his name is Chip. We're not finished with the
not raise
conversation.
your
We're
hand?
taking stock of what we want to do, and then you're going to help us do it to avoid.
You don't want your name.
Okay.
We ain't scared.
That's what okay.
okay.
So Councilman Harvey, what's your
Before I
question?
vote yes or no on that. So to your point, is that in reference to a rezoning or is it in reference to a special exceptions permit?
Special exceptions permit.
Okay,
So they want a special exceptions permit for a liquor store,
right,
because it's already a convenience store.
okay,
It's convenient for something, okay?
okay.
Convenience store,
Yeah, yeah.
now they wanna add to that and sell liquor in it.
Okay,
And
okay,
so that, it's this is specifically a special exceptions permit.
okay, to a special, okay, okay.
Councilman Henderson.
Okay. I'm trying to understand, and maybe Phil answered this question, but,
Yes, sir.
so when we deny a liquor store that is by rights,
Okay,
okay,
yes.
then, we open ourselves up to lawsuit, correct?
Yes, sir. Unless you have a basis in your code that you are reviewing here that would say that there would be a reason to deny it for a legitimate reason that is not just arbitrary and capricious, you don't like this person.
So our next step would be, in this conversation,
Yes.
to identify what by rights qualifies as, and potentially seek out and strengthen our code to give us more enforcement
Okay.
ability.
So I guess I'm gonna go back to the code that Keita just read, Councilwoman Dotley, I'm sorry. Phil, is that, I guess, sufficient enough reason that in court we could say, I mean, is that our go-to code right there when we deny one is
Well, y'all recently.
welfare of the community?
General, but I mean, there's gotta be some basis to be able to do that other than just stating those words. There's gotta be something that would establish that there are problems in connection with that. And remember, y'all, in your, code amendments here, 5108 is the location and signs for liquor stores. And that's in our ordinances here. And it was last amended, let me get my section number here, in 2024. And when we amended it in 2024, that caused a little more issues insofar as the distance restrictions were reduced from 500 feet down to 200 feet. They've always been that, no real requirement in much of Rakita's property here that was C3 zone. So just be aware of that. Those distance restrictions do not apply in areas that were C3 Central Business District before.
So could we do liquor stores like we did payday lending? Can we say either ratio or like, I think in our payday lending, they can't be closer than some amount of footage, like from one liquor store to another.
Right.
And the Councilman Clark's point the other day, he was talking about we got too many liquor stores. So.
In that vicinity.
In that vicinity, so is that, can we treat liquor stores like we did the payday lending and limit the number that could be in a, some given radius or, whatever? Could we do that?
Yes, sir. Or an area within the districts, if you're trying to look at how many do you have in an area. Right now, I think we've got numbers that were increased. It used to be, I think it was 54 liquor stores throughout the entire city. But we increased that the last time around here to be a larger percentage based upon the population. So y'all can look at those types of numbers without a problem.
Okay.
So, okay, but I mean, I think that would help us, that would help if we did something along the lines like we did the payday lending, and we've already got something in our code. I think that was a sort of
Pattern
precedent
and
that.
after. Councilman Clark?
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, wait a second. Councilman Bursch first.
Thank you. So I want to make sure I understood the question that you asked a few minutes ago. You asked if the council wants to continue to hear special exceptions. That was just a broad question.
Broad
It's not
question.
just liquor stores, it's
No.
okay, okay.
If we like that as a tool, and we
yeah.
want to come to us.
We want to continue to hear them, okay, so yes. And I would support Councilman Henderson's suggestion that we treat this as an opportunity to see if there's ways that we can go and tighten up the code for how liquor stores are built and where they're built. And then my other question is, if I go to get if I want to add a liquor store to my convenience store, do they have to come here to us first before they get their liquor and beer permit?
Yeah.
Okay, because they have to be able to serve first in order to be able, okay, all right. That's it. Yeah, thank you.
Councilman Clark?
Thank you, Chairwoman Hill. Back to Rakita's point in the code where it talks about the social welfare of our district. If we cite code that references like a plan, like for instance, when I was talking about this situation, I referenced that this was not in congruence with our plan Chattanooga zoning plan, which has a parcel by parcel, plan on what that parcel should be used for. And in this case, that liquor store was not a part of that. So I guess this would be a field question. Would that not have been sufficient enough in saying that this is not a part of the plan and it goes to the clause that Rakita cited?
If there are provisions that you've got in your code that say that if certain things exist, then we would not permit that, then that would work. Right now, everything is simply based on the size and location, I believe, here in your code.
So we would have to specify to Councilman Henderson's point that if it was a vicinity issue, we need to specify that. And then if we have zoning, zoning plans, policies that prohibit that we would have to write that language in an amendment to this ordinance, is what
Yes.
you're saying, to strengthen it?
Yes.
And I think that also brings up the importance of getting Plan Chattanooga back on the agenda, seeing it in our strategic planning and getting it voted on, because right now, it's words in the air, it's not, the area plan, I'm not sure how old the area plan is for that Highway 58 area. I know the area plan for my district is more than 20 years old. So, it's.
I was not aware of that. I thought it was an
To
adopted.
quote Joey from Friends, it's a moot point. Yes, Councilman Miller?
Clarify what you just said. So we haven't voted on plan?
I was not aware of that.
No,
I
Plan
know-
Chattanooga has stalled.
Still in draft, yeah. Right.
Yeah, and I know that,
It died with Dan.
yeah, and I know that Karen Rennick and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. She wants to bring it back to us sooner versus later for that reason. Because I know she's using it a lot when she's having meetings with
Yeah.
communities, because it's
I've
pretty much, I mean, it's
Because I've
a
been
good
wrong.
guide, which is what it would be anyway if it was official. So I don't think there's anything wrong with using it as a guide, but
But
if push
enforceable.
came,
you
yes,
can't use
exactly,
it. That's,
yeah.
okay, I got you.
Were you finished with your?
Yes, ma'am.
question?
I'm
Okay.
sorry. You're good.
Can we also amend what are the opportunities to amend the code to include things like, like when somebody goes to request a rezone, RPA may suggest that they call their council person. If somebody goes to request a rezone for a liquor store, could part of that checklist be, did you do a search with the police department? Did you do a search with, and add that before it even comes to us to see what the history is for not just that property, but a certain mile radius? So before it even gets to us,
Put that on them so that.
Councilwoman Dotley is not having to go and then do all that research. It comes to us already with their number of arrests in that area has been this over the last 5 to 10 years. The number of whatever those criteria are, that maybe
Right.
we can come up with what those criteria would be to add to that checklist, or I don't know if it can be a ordinance or.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about, once we get Plain Chattanooga passed, that one of those boxes is, does this request align with the Plain Chattanooga parcel
Yes.
plan for the
That we've
parcel?
adopted.
Because if you have to check no,
You know,
Yeah.
that's one of the
Yeah.
things that you
Yeah.
already acknowledge that.
Right.
You ought to run for office. That was pretty good.
that would. I like this. Okay,
Sorry.
that's good.
Phil,
Yeah.
what other types of language would you suggest that we be thinking about
Well,
to
I'm-
strengthen these and give us the latitude we need?
Well, definitely, chapter 38 really doesn't have a whole lot of regulations about alcohol or liquor in there. Everything is under chapter 5 in your code. And so if you're wanting to have those types of things considered here, we need to at least marry them up to the sections on here. And I think your latest zoning changes you had to 38 really didn't mention that very much. I was looking here, trying to do a search to find, is there a reference to special exception permits by the council anymore? And it's not showing under 38, it's all going to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So that's an
How did
issue.
that happen?
That's another question. And I think you have requirements, at least in a table that RPA has done for you, saying what types of permits need to be done and whether they need to be done by the city council, but it's pretty hard to locate that. It's just simply in those tables. And the language needs to be specific in 38 that would reference what is to be done with any type of special exception you want to deal with, whether it be liquor stores or payday lendings or others.
But doesn't group homes fall in a special exception?
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe so, yes, sir.
Yes, Councilman Harvey.
To tag on to that, do like, for example, do vape stores or those kinds of things? Because I'm getting a lot of calls on that.
I wrote that down
Smoke
too,
shops,
yeah.
vape, those kinds of things. Yeah, I wonder if that could be tied into that. But going back to the code
There's a new law that just passed on January 1st we need to look at regarding vape stores, because before it prohibited us from doing that. But there was a brand new statute that was passed by the General Assembly that went into effect on January 1st, so we'll need to look at that.
Okay. The code that Councilwoman Dotley was reading earlier, it mentioned, I think, something about, does this special exceptions, whatever, is it tied into the morals or the the character, something like that, the whatever, I can't remember the exact language, but morals, I think was in there.
Yeah, public health, safety, morals, and general welfare.
I mean, to me, that can be very subjective. You know, my morals could be different from somebody else's morals. So what, you know, would that, I guess my question would be, would that be enough to protect us in a lawsuit if I said, well, you know, my morals don't align with that? Well, it's very subjective. I mean, you know?
Could be.
It's got right now here under the special exceptions provision on here that certain uses, because of their unique characteristics, cannot be properly classified in a particular zone without consideration of the impact upon uses of neighboring lands and the public need for a particular use at that location. So if you can qualify it to the concern of the neighborhood, if it's involving crime, if it's involving some sort of issues where there are specific problems with that location that have been going on for a period of time, just having a change in the owner isn't gonna change that.
That's right.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, to your point, Councilman Harvey, I think kind of what Councilman Dotley has done in getting that research from CPD kind of undercuts that subjectivity, you know, at least in my mind.
Right.
It's hard to say you're being arbitrary and capricious if you've got, you know,
Numbers to back it
concrete
up.
data
Yeah.
like that.
Good point.
But any case you have, I would recommend you get something like that.
Yeah.
Do we have, yes,
So, I guess to Councilwoman Burrs' point of when we get the RPA report, could we have it where it does have, you know, some of our core departments, CPD, or public, section for public safety, you know, public safety, code enforcement, I don't know what else, but, you know, to me, general public safety, general welfare of the people, public safety is probably the top of the list. I mean, and then code enforcement, you know, does this site have issues with trash everywhere? Does it have this or whatever, you know, cause the way I did this one was just for 1 year. When y'all hear these numbers, y'all gonna be like, what is going on over there? But I did it for 1 year in a half-mile radius. And within a half-mile radius, though they are not close to a school, I had, there is a school and a community center and all these other things within the half-mile radius. So like, if we could have that, I don't know how we'll go about it, but just adding that to the checklist of public safety notes, code enforcement notes and things like that. So just adding that to the mix of it, I think that'd be nice. That'd be good.
And you got two different places you can add it. You can add it under the sections in 38 that we talk about special exceptions, or under chapter 5 where we were dealing with the liquor store provisions.
so, council, do you have any further discussion? Okay,
Can you add it under, yeah, sorry, thank you, Chairwoman. Can you add it both places?
Yes.
Because I'm
As long as
thinking
they're
not in terms of,
consistent, yes.
I'm not thinking just in terms of liquor stores, like I have an issue that'll be coming up for Boza Media, God, I can't talk, y'all. Coming up for Boza pretty soon about a special exception for an event hall. And I would wanna know the same, have they had, you know, incidents with the police department? Have they had incidents with code violations? Have they had, I mean, they're not necessarily gonna be serving liquor, they're gonna be having baby showers, but still, they could have an event where they serve liquor, so it doesn't necessarily have to be just a liquor store, there could be other things that would fall under special exception, huh?
They'd have to have a special permit if they did it.
They did, yeah, they would, but I'm just thinking, I don't think it needs to be limited just to liquor stores, that's the most prominent thing right now.
Right, so Phil, what I'm hearing from council is, yes, we want to maintain our ability as council to see special exceptions permits. Yes, we want to strengthen the language and get sections 5 and chapter 5 and chapter 38 in sync. We would like to have a more, sounds like the checklist might be something related to policy and to the ordinance change to say you have to do this homework as part of your application. That being the items listed, CPD, code enforcement, data, Plan Chattanooga, alignment, obviously the distance, we might wanna take a look at the distance. Would it be possible for your team to put some draft recommendation documents together for us and join us again for strategic planning about 5 weeks from now on the 17th of March?
Sure.
Okay, so we could look at that again then.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, council, we will now move on to a conversation about council rules. So when we put this on the strategic planning agenda, it's because we are up to have a vote, because we want to make a change to the way that we allocate funds within the council budget. And so to do that, one of the things we're gonna do is make an adjustment to our rules. And and then if anyone had any other thoughts about council rules that they would like us to look at, this would be a great time for us to discuss that. So in your packet, you'll see, I made some markups about things that, I've noticed as chair that I think would be useful to have a little bit more clarity on. If you wouldn't mind, just, going through those with me, and then we can open up the floor. The first on page 1 would be for our attorney to provide language within the chairperson's ability to appoint a chair pro tem. We have the ability in our code overall to vote in a chair pro tem, which you all did while Vice Chairwoman Knoll and I were out of town. But it would be nice if that could just be assigned in advance. Councilman Elliott.
I have a question, and this is worst case scenario, and this is not on you, so just bear with me. In a case where we have a chair, where a vice chair is absent, and a chair is incapacitated for whatever reason, would we still have the ability to, or would the rule still be there to also, in that case, to vote somebody in? You see what I'm saying? Let's say for whatever reason, Vice Chairwoman Knowles not here, and you're sick as a dog, and you can't be there, and you're not even able to appoint somebody. Is it an option to do both? To say, hey,
Sure.
I'm gonna go ahead and be there, Councilwoman Knowles not gonna be there as well. We're gonna ahead and appoint, but worst case scenario, if you're not able to appoint prior to the meeting, we still have the ability to vote.
I think that makes sense.
I think so. I thought there was a problem, at least saying that would occur before the meeting happened on here. I know that section 8.3 of the charter says the council may, when necessary, elect from their members a chair pro tem to preside at a meeting in the absence of the chairperson and vice chair. But normally it's supposed to be the chairperson and then the vice chair would go on. And then if some reason there's not there, then you would have a vote. And that's what it said in the front end of it. It doesn't allow you to be able to select a chair just for the hot topic that may be coming up while you're gone. So that's, I think, the rationale that it's got.
So we could add to our rules language that would allow the chairperson to have that if they needed it, but also not preempt the other option that currently exists within our charter.
Yeah, and I think you gotta comply with your charter on here, to say.
So we can't do it then?
That's what it's saying. The council may, when necessary, elect a chair pro tem to preside at a particular meeting in the absence of the chair. It doesn't say when.
But it also doesn't say the chair cannot.
No.
So
it's open. That was what we were using last time to give you the authority to be able to have an election, to be able to elect your chair.
So we can still do this rule, because it doesn't say we can't, correct?
It does not say you can't. It just says may when necessary.
I think it could make it easier for chairs in the future. Yes, Chairwoman Dolly.
Well, I just think that the membership elected a chair, and in the absence of a chair and a vice chair, the membership should still have that same right to elect their chair. Is that to me negates the democratic process and it dilutes the voices of the rest of the council. So I don't support that, but and that's why, because I don't ever want, if I'm not, like, it was a couple meetings I'm not sure of, but it's a couple meetings I wasn't here. I just wasn't here. So if you're not, but it didn't stop the meetings from going on and people from voting and continue to do what needed to be done. So if, like in the case where you two were unable to be here, the meeting continued, and who's ever there, whatever membership is there, has the right to vote on who they want to lead them in the absence of the leadership. So that's just my thought. I believe this dilutes the democratic process and dilutes the voices of the council members that are present when a chair decides, I'm not gonna be here, Cody, take it over. That's not, whereas Cody may say, I don't want to do that, and then, it just kind of puts everybody in a kind of awkward position when we all just vote on it. It's a vote. We're moving on and going on as opposed to kind of pushing that position. So those are my
Okay,
thoughts.
Councilman Davis.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, that was a simple thing we did. It only took a few minutes last month when we had to do that, so it's not like it's a burdensome, ordeal.
Okay,
So if we can keep it simple, that might be the thing to do.
okay. Councilman Harvey?
The only other concern I have with that is, let's say, all right, you designate Ron as the pro tem and he's stuck in Nashville, and then you two can't be here.
Right.
Then we're in the same
Yeah.
predicament,
that's
if
true.
all three people, and so then we would have to vote amongst ourselves, to do it anyway, so, no
Well,
offense.
then, for clarity's sake, might the council be open to language within our council rules that clarifies the fact that this is our process? Because right now, we don't have anything in our process that says if.
I'd recommend at least adding the language you got in 8.3
Yeah.
in there.
Councilman Henderson?
Well, and I don't know if we can figure out a compromise between both, but I guess, and I certainly see the point that you're making as far as, it being a democratic process and deciding who we want to chair that meeting. My other thought was, if both the chair and the vice chair, for some reason, we're gonna be completely out of pocket, and I'm talking about, unreachable, and I don't even know when that would ever happen, but like, for that interim, we're sort of stuck without a chair. It becomes more than just a meeting that they're presiding over. You see what I'm saying? And I wonder if we shouldn't at least give ourselves the leeway of being able to say, okay, you're gonna serve as the role of chair until one or both can come back. And, to take care of something that could come up during that week, that we could possibly be without both. So it might be, I guess what I'm saying, it might be more than just a meeting that we could possibly need somebody appointed to that. And it could happen prior to us coming to that meeting point, is all I'm saying. If some way we could, you know what I'm saying?
I think that can be designated in the vote. So for instance, if whoever's not gonna be here, I hope nothing ever happens and we never run into
They're
this
not gonna get
problem.
us hit by the bus.
But if,
We're
it's
only here till
designated
April.
in the vote that, you will serve as chair for the next 2 weeks or until the chair and vice chair resurface. Or I don't know how the words
Well,
would
I
be.
guess the only thing I was thinking is if for some reason it happened prior to that Tuesday, to the vote, you know what I'm saying?
So like that,
If for some reason
like that Thursday or something.
Yeah, if something happened on a Thursday that neither the chair or the vice chair was available, what happens then from Thursday to Tuesday when we can vote?
Is there an
Is
emergency?
what I'm saying, is.
Yeah, we do a call an emergency meeting and we can do it at that point.
I think, I was just gonna kind of
Who would
ditto
do
what you
that,
said.
chair?
I think our attorney.
Call
would.
emergency
Yeah,
meeting?
Yeah, the attorney would.
Or,
Or two members.
well, let me ask this, I
Oh,
mean.
wait, we had Councilmember
I'm sorry.
Burgess.
That's okay, I'll
Okay.
yield to.
What if we what if we throw in here, if we elect a pro tem, like when we're electing chair and vice chair? I mean, what's the chances of three people?
What if our previous chair, what if the chair emeritus steps in the emergency?
I think you still,
That's a good.
Go
Well, all
ahead.
I'm saying,
I
I'm
think-
going back to if we elected, I'm sorry, but if we go back to
Right.
elected, then if you elect a pro tem,
Right.
then it's still the body is elected a
Yeah, that's true.
third person to fill in.
Okay.
That's true. Councilman Burgess?
yeah, I could totally see that, and you could also run into the situation of you get stuck in the ice storm, so then we're back to that. I mean, we're talking about these things that are probably never gonna
Right,
happen.
yeah.
Well,
But at least you-
but I'm saying the
all at one time, all at one
There's a
time,
possibility
yeah.
of three
Yeah.
people not being there, that would be rare, but And then we go back to the voting on Tuesday or whatever.
Well, let's pause that because I thought that was the easy one. Because there's one thing that stood out to me as a question based on, actually Ice Storm 2020 something. Okay, on page 5. Brief change about our seating because our chair and our vice chair have assigned seating. But in section 3, it shall take 5 yes or 5 no votes to adopt or defeat any action. But a quorum is 5 votes, or 5 people. And so in the rare situation where we have only 5 people, are we actually able to conduct business? Do we want to change, or we just have to bring those items back that are not, bring them back to first read?
The concern about that is that the body itself, that by majority is voting for an issue or not. And I think there are certain things that at least require, at least a number of the body, or the majority of the body to be able to do it. So your body is 9 members that you have in here, and that's the reason the 5 yes or 5 no votes is involved. And if you didn't have that, that would be a reason to defer the meeting here until you had enough folks that might be able to do it.
So as an example, when we were given a requirement by the state of Tennessee to change our community engage, I can't remember the exact name, our CPIC, which was.
Police Advisory
Thank
Review
you, our
Committee.
Community Police Advisory Committee. On the first vote, I believe we had 9 people, and on the second vote, we did not. And so
We don't have one.
it got 5 votes to pass, I think. I can't remember exactly, maybe 6 votes to pass. But then the second time around, not all those people were there, and it just kind of didn't get decided.
There is no Police Advisory Review Committee now.
Yeah,
because-
but we did not bring it back
No,
with the thought, so it just croaked.
died on the vine. Yes.
Which I was against it, so I didn't like that new plan, but, so that's kind of where my head's at on this, just think we should discuss it. Councilman Elliott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is it worth following Robert's rules? In the sense that, based on the quorum, if it's a majority vote to prevail the issue, is that legally allowed? Because we follow Roberts for everything else.
Yeah, I think you could argue that requirement could be there. I think the concern was, did somebody just not come to a meeting so that you wouldn't have enough?
Oh, that's
Which-
interesting.
Might be another issue on a really hot topic. Would that be an issue that people might not show up, and then it took
Way to kill it.
a really good way to kill a vote?
Which is their prerogative.
He says, batting his eyelashes.
Welcome to America. I think it's
But it does
their
affect the
prerogative
city,
not to show up and vote.
not just your district. There's, that's.
They may have to
concern.
take that over with their
The
constituents.
whole state of Texas left one time. When
know.
they didn't vote, right?
Y'all trying to arrest them.
Or a certain
I know.
side.
Councilwoman Dotley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I think I'm leaving it with Councilman Clark is there, like, I wasn't here for 2 meetings in January. Continue, I think that means, I think at least 3 of us were not here. Voted on, the vote went on. So I think that, at the end of the day, and I agree with Councilman Elliott as well, Robert Rules of Order is what it is. The body is 9, if it's 5 people, because if it's not, of those 5 people, could have been a 3-2 vote on something, then, if it was something I was passionate about, I would ask, could we bring it back up, once I got back or something like that. So a lot of that responsibility falls on us as council people to say, if something was voted no, but I knew there were only 5 people here, then I could ask when I come back, request that, hey, I talk to Phil first to make sure I get the right language.
Yes, ma'am.
But ask, could we bring this back up since, I saw that it was only 5 people that came to the meeting. So I think that responsibility really falls back on us to be in attendance, and then to also, if it's something that's we're passionate about, or, whatever, to bring it back, if we can, if it's.
Yeah, the reconsider motion would be at the next meeting under Robert's rules if something happened. The problem comes on what actions you take. Some actions take 2 readings, some take 1 reading. So resolutions on there, if they could get it by with 3 votes and no one questioned it at all, it'd be done.
Okay.
Councilman
That's it. Thank
Davis.
you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Davis and then Councilman Clark.
Yeah, I would think if we just change the language to say it shall take a majority to adopt or defeat, then that way, provided that we have a quorum, the majority, whatever that quorum is, would, yeah.
So, Phil, do you see anything that we need to be cautioned on with that?
Well, I guess it's all a living document, and as you go forward, if you see more problems associated with that,
always
I
change
can
that.
see that. But
Okay.
I do see an opportunity, potentially, if it's really a hot topic, to maybe not come to the meeting and
Okay.
let the majority pass.
All right.
Yep.
Well, that was the one I thought was gonna be tricky. So so we still have the, my question, and who knows what other questions you'll have. Let's see, and then the final, oh, yes.
Before we move on from this, what about, I know if we ever need to overturn something, like we pass something, the mayor vetoes it, and it becomes a overturn vote. Is that in this or is that in the charter?
It's in the charter.
And that's a 2/3 of
Two-thirds
the
majority.
whole body, or just present?
Correct.
Whole body.
Oh, whole body, okay. I was
Right,
just
and
curious.
then
Okay.
I feel like some of our specific votes related to the budget require the whole body.
Yes.
Whole body.
Yeah, we couldn't
Okay.
pass a budget with 5.
That makes
Well,
perfect
we
sense.
We
Okay.
did pass a budget with 5, but we had 9 total. Yes, Councilman.
Going back to his point of what Robert's Rules of Order and how we define whole body, some people may describe, the definition of whole body is according to quorum. So whole body doesn't mean all. If we're only required to operate our business through a quorum, then in that case, a whole body could be 5. And so I think the specificity of that is up for interpretation of what whole body is.
Depending on what the
Councilman-
language
that's right.
actually is in the charter.
To his
We have-
point.
Right, right.
Okay.
Okay, so,
That's 509. So that's.
got something happening over
Yeah,
here.
so I just had a question when Councilman Clark mentioned the body. So in section 8.10, because I did do my research on
Yes,
this.
ma'am.
So the body constitute, a majority of the entire membership of the council shall constitute a quorum for the transaction of business. So
5.
is this, is this in there already? Is this in our, what is it, what we looking at? Council rules?
It says
Is defined by quorum.
it says it shall take 5 yes or 5 no votes to adopt or defeat any action.
So maybe we should, I think going back to your point of like defining, like what is this, maybe take it straight out of the charter and just
Well,
drop
and
it
if, I mean,
in.
if that's what the charter says, then it doesn't feel like we have a lot of leeway.
No, it says a majority of the membership shall constitute a quorum for the transaction of business, so you gotta have that each time. It does not say anything about the number that votes on
Yes.
that.
Somehow, I missed the, I mean, like, I don't understand why we're debating this.
Well, the reason that I asked the question was because we have recently had a 5-member quorum.
Okay.
And what that made me think when I studied these rules again is that if we had had any votes that were split, none of the votes would have counted.
That's right. They would have failed.
And
They
so,
would
and so they fail, but that means,
So,
That means?
that means they failed.
that just doesn't feel like a great way to do the people's business.
I agree. It is what it is.
If it fails on,
I mean, my opinion, this is my opinion. It takes 5 yeses or 5 noes.
In whole or in part.
Councilman Elliott?
I see your logic, Councilman, but there's circumstances that pop up. I think we do need to provide some flexibility in case people are absent. And we find ourselves in a position, let's say, Lord forbids, 3 of us get hit by a bus, and we only have 5 council members until they recover. I'm
Did you
serious.
just say stuck in ice? Maybe.
Somebody said bus earlier. What the fuck? Look, y'all, I've been dealing with Nashville ice all week.
Ice storm.
I don't want to see ice.
Now I'm
snow
trying-
for a very long
Okay, sorry.
time.
Finish.
Like, oh.
Chattanooga would have been a really cozy place to
Everything
live.
got really quiet. and
I
Dan's
wish I
like,
could be.
okay.
But forbid if somebody's stuck in ice, or 3 of us are stuck in ice somewhere, and we have items that may be controversial, And, you know, it takes one vote to kill everything, right? This gives us a little bit more flexibility, but also still following the rules, which are Robert Rules of Orders that we've adopted, right? And so it kind of loosens up a little bit. It's not as stringent. It's my opinion.
Councilman Davis.
I support this.
And I think also, if we find ourselves in a situation with a controversial vote and people are tempted not to show up so that they don't have to vote to try to sway things one way or the other, knowing that this is in place, tells them, okay, I might not show up, but whoever's in the room is gonna make the decision regardless, as long as there's a quorum. So it could, if that makes sense, you know, to kind of undercut that sort of tactic, I think it might be useful.
Councilman Clark, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, the beauty about this is the legislative process. You come to work, and if you don't come to work, you're not a part of the work. And a quorum is a quorum. The majority still rules in this country, and if you show up to work, you'll be a part of that conversation. If you don't, then that's on you. I believe, I actually had not read that, even though you told me so many times to read the rules. I was like, God, I didn't realize I didn't realize that was in there. I actually think it's a bit undemocratic, to have that clause in there that it takes 5 yeses or 5 nos. And I think it might be contradictory to our charter and our rules saying that a quorum is necessary for, so I don't even know if that's even legal to even have 5, to require unanimous vote on anything, because we don't have, that's like almost coercing me to vote, saying yes. Like if I was at work that day, there's only 5 of us, then to get it a yes approved, and if it's something controversial, all 5 of us have to agree versus 3. I'm not sure if that's very democratic, and I think it goes against our rules.
So Phil, it sounds like we do need to, before we, you know, work any kind of change into this, and I just thought it was a question we needed to discuss. How about if you do some research on this and bring us back the pros and cons at that 317? Because it is a living document, and we've led the city this long with this rule, and it's gone well. So let's look at that again on the 17th of March, please. Yes, Councilman Henderson.
I think the other thing that we would need to research too then is, does this roll downhill to BOZA? Does it roll downhill to IDB?
Great point.
Does it roll downhill to any HEB, any of our other boards?
All of them have adopted Robert's rules for the most part. So
Well, we've adopted Robert's rules,
we've
but we're
adopted-
debating this.
Okay,
you've got
so,
contrary rules.
which speaks to why we want to make a well-informed decision. We had a good conversation, let's make a well-informed decision.
And that section 810 in the charter was adopted by the people in 2002, because that's a charter referendum provision that occurred. And it does authorize any ordinance that you pass that occurs to be signed by the chair, a vice chair, or a pro tem person. So that language is already in that section of
Okay.
the charter. But the aspect of 5 versus not 5 votes is the question we've got to look at.
Okay.
majority.
Yes.
Okay, so the final thing I wanted to bring before council for consideration, we are, on page 7, we are making a change from $6,000 per council member per year to $10,000. And what I have found since the time that I have served on council is that this is a confusing part of our rules, because it's always been unclear what expense reimbursement is for. I remember, Councilman Henderson said hot dogs and fireworks. We had a constituent, before Melissa, we had a wonderful constituent, council person, assistant, and she was like, yeah, you can't, it all got real muddy. And so, first, I would like to assert that this is not really about travel, but it's really about, because it said, the way it reads, we can request reimbursement for advance payment of travel, room, and board expenses for travel up to $10,000. But what I know is that as a council, we have many expenses that relate to our service, not just specific to travel. A few that came up for me were supporting community events, office supply expenses beyond basic supplies, technology expenses beyond basic technology. And so I would like to ask our attorney if you all are in agreement to rephrase this to be more clear about the actual modern interpretation of what this is. And the other question that I have, and this was something I never had to look at until I was chair, but I do know that other chairs have had the same question come to their desk and we do not have clarity on it, is within the allocated budget per member per year, how or if we will allow surplus council member funds to be reallocated from one council person to another. So I think it's a sort of a yes, no, of do we want to do that? So in the instance that somebody's expenses went over, but somebody else's expenses went under, do we allow for a transfer of funds? And if so, what is the process for that request and that agreement versus it happening without those council people being aware of it? So
I'm in favor of the transfer.
okay, I think you had your, Elliot and then Dolly.
I have two questions, Madam Chair. The first is about reimbursement and advance payment. What if we got a P card as a council person, hypothetically, all hypotheticals? Is that not considered advance payment? And is that well, it is an option, but for kind of like loosening up funds, say, hey, if I, for whatever reason, have my own P card and I need to go get something for a neighborhood meeting or event, could I not do that and follow our procurement process?
That's an idea. It seems like it would put a lot more responsibility on the council person for bookkeeping. She's like, I don't want to do that. So
It's just an option.
yeah,
Not
that's
everybody
a-
needs one,
Yeah,
but
that's a question. Let's see, Councilwoman Dotley and then Councilman Clark.
Yeah, I'm gonna co-sign that on, vice chair with no P card for me, on the record. But I too am in favor of, the reallocation of funds. I think we're just establishing that process of what that looks like with, maybe, you know how we do the approvals, for an amount, like approval, for reimbursement, maybe that's something like, you know, if, I had some money left and I wanted to donate to Councilman Henderson. And so I will put the request in and say, I want to transfer this to Councilman Henderson. And then he would approve it, cause I don't want to, you know, just do it and not, you know, he just, but then that council person also approves it. And then it comes through that, then, you know, you approve it and maybe Madam Vice Chair, or however we do it within our internal systems. And then make sure it aligns that way. That way there's a level of accountability and approved spaces along the way. So that there's a system there, so it's not, as Councilman Henderson says, follow the process. And I think if it's a process there,
Yep.
makes it easier, accountable, everybody can see where this went to that. And yeah, good, but just the email, like, hey, I wanna da-da-da-da, and then da-da-da's email back and say, yeah, I agree, and then,
Yeah, it feels like there needs to be a record of it.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Councilman Clark and then Councilman Harvey.
Yes, quick question, specific to this clause, I'm so sorry. Are we, I hate to even have this, to admit to this, but I did not read the language in that it was our current rate or $6,000 was only set for travel, room and board, is that correct?
Well, it has been vague language, and I wonder if it has been intentionally vague for many years, because there's a, yeah, Phil nods, like, I think travel was kind of a catch-all for however many years. But what it has done, I think, for council on a daily basis, especially for new council people finding their feet as to what does and doesn't count as a reimbursable expense, we would be well served and serve future councils to have some clarity.
Because here it said, it specifies travel, right? And so, and this is just a proposal, because I believe that, you know, members of the legislative branch do a considerable amount of travel representing the city, other than just the executive. And right now, there is a $10,000, for how I read it, for travel. Should we be a little bit more innovative and say, you know what, there's our travel budget, And then there's also our, what would you call it, what are we calling this account?
Council expenses.
But council community expenses, like how are we district expensive? Is it possible that we could reallocate another cost center in our council budget that's for our district outside of travel? Because we consumed so much of our community dollars in travel, rightfully so, but this would also mean that we would have to allot ourselves more funding
So.
to do more council business out of this fund.
So Budget Chairwoman Dotley educated me on the different items in an education conversation about, you know, what different cost centers were there. And so in bringing this rule change, the intent is that we are in fact reallocating a cost center to take it from $6,000 to $10,000. It was very important to she and to me that, to her and to me, that we work within the budget as allocated for this fiscal year. And not try to increase the council budget, that was not the intent, but to look at modernizing our
Gotcha.
cost
Usage,
centers.
yeah.
Right, exactly.
but if we-
Because also, we are moving with this change, where it's not related to council rules, but we're not going to charge council people for their cell phone costs out of their reimbursement anymore, because we believe that that's just a modern expense that, you know, 20 years ago wasn't, right? It was a cool thing to have, but we all are on the go all the time. So I think that's something, in terms of adding additional funds beyond this, I think we're at the max of our capacity to elbow room
That line item.
right now, but we can certainly look at that in the budget
But
process.
this will go into immediate effect once we adopt this, say, is this on the agenda for today, for adoption?
It's, Tuesday, next
Next
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yes,
So it'll be just for this fiscal.
Gotcha, for the remainder of the
Remainder.
correct, correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councilman Harvey.
Two things I want to clarify to anyone watching, that we are in fact not increasing the
That's right.
budget.
Right, not
We
at all.
are not using more taxpayer dollars,
That's
we are
right.
reallocating our city council budget, so anyone watching, please know that, please know that. To go off what Councilman Clark was saying, can we develop some sort of list of can and cannot purchases? Because it's still very confusing to me, because my understanding is we can't purchase like band uniforms if a school needs band uniforms.
Your
No?
band uniform,
I'm sorry?
or your band uniform.
Or my band, you're correct, exactly, yeah. To be very clear, I'm not buying my band new uniform.
Yeah, I think that's a very worthy question, and it's one that in my initial training as a new council person, they said, you know, you can't, this money is not to buy votes. It is not to sponsor all the people and make sure that they, you know, build the project so that they will come for you, to vote for you, which I think is why Councilman Henderson advised me, hot dogs and fireworks. You know, not to put your name on a ball field. I think probably when we look at following the finance rules, I think we could work with Weston,
Okay.
CFO, to come up with a better list. Do we agree that changing the words from expenses for travel to some type of council expenses would be a step
Yes.
in the right direction?
Yes.
For greater clarity? Okay, Councilman Elliott?
This may be a question for Weston. Is there already like an outline of acceptable expenses that falls under purchasing?
Yeah, so we have procurement rules that say kind of the do's and don'ts, right?
Yeah.
And we can send those to you guys.
Please, yeah.
Try and do it in a highlighted kind of version of it. Not as much as the table.
That way we may not need to reinvent the wheel.
Right, probably we don't.
Right, and then
Wanna
we can
use their
also send kind of the breakdown of historically, maybe last year and this year, what has been spent. Because if it gets budgeted in one line item for district expenses, but when the actuals come in, we kind of put it in the travel and the different pieces. So we can kind of show you guys what the money has historically gone to,
Okay.
to provide some context.
And that may be great. We can just probably tweak our language
Right,
here,
yeah.
and the rules may already exist.
And we, you know, when we did the training for this new council, there, quite a lot of documents were created, and I think we could work with our clerk to put all of those documents in a single repository that our clerk always has access to regardless of who is chair, because, you know, Councilman Henderson was still chair at the beginning of that process, and I was vice chair and helped him with that, so that could be one of those items that goes in that book. However, Councilman Clark, if you don't read it, it doesn't matter.
You were coming for me with it, too. I felt it.
Oh, well, we got all these hands up. Okay,
Sorry.
let's let our attorney weigh in real quick.
Yeah, the only thing I heard that gave me a little bit of pause is the reallocation to the general fund after a year. Because we have specific requirements for appropriations, and those are supposed to be based upon the budget for a year. And then it all rolls into, I thought, just the general fund, and then it goes on. Now, you could appropriate it each year.
Well, when
in
we
that
do, we
regard.
follow all those rules.
But I don't know there's a way of saying I only spent 5,000 this year, I'm gonna have 15,000 next year to be
No,
able
we're
to
not
go
rolling into the next fiscal year.
Okay.
This is within this year,
within
so-
1 year, I think
Correct.
you're fine, but
Yeah.
that's the problem, and I've been looking at the charter too much. 6.91 of the charter talks about how appropriations are done, and they're supposed to be done on an annual basis.
Yeah, so we can clarify that, that's within the fiscal year, that's what all of us meant.
Okay.
Nobody's banking anything.
Okay.
Yes,
I can't remember what I was, oh, have you concluded your list of?
yes, and I was about to, do a quick, show of hands. If you are comfortable with Phil going ahead and adding appropriate language, related to allowing for the transfer between council people as necessary with some type of process, just please raise your hand, so I gotta.
Within the
Okay, cool.
fiscal,
Right, within the fiscal year. Okay, so we're good to go on that one. We are going to, take a look at the 5 votes, yes, no, again, on the 17th of March.
Right.
And then we still have the pro tem question. That was the end of the 3 items that I wanted to discuss. Okay, Clark and then Dottie.
this is a quick cleanup, understanding committees, and maybe, remember we voted to change the name of community development. Maybe that could just be a cleanup item, so it can just reflect community development committee, not equity community development. This is kind of a cleanup item. And then secondly.
What page is that on?
Oh, I'm sorry, this is on page 2.
2, okay.
Understanding committee persons. I'm just saying, as we're updating this, we just should clean that
Yeah,
language up
absolutely,
to
100%.
reflect correctly. And then my last question is, as it relates to human resources, there's not a standing committee that gives us the wiggle room to hear matters that may come before council dealing with human resources. Did we, once upon a time, have a committee of that nature, and it was not there, or?
For a very short time,
Okay.
I'm not sure how many chairs back there was that. It was always a very questionable,
Practice?
correct, because employees are, those decisions are guided by the egg. So I think that's a longer conversation for another time.
I like for us to have that conversation as it relates to our role in the EIG when it comes to human resources, as a kind of what is our practices as an appeal process. I don't know as a new council person, maybe it's written somewhere, I'm not sure. But I just noticed that human resources is not a standing committee, and perhaps we should re-entertain that notion in how we get involved in that process.
Okay, yeah, we can talk about that in future strategic planning, for sure. Anybody else have anything? Yes, oh yeah, Councilwoman Dotley, sorry.
Yes, that's okay. So as we've kind of figured out what we're doing with this current budget, I know departmental budgets are due, when are they due, Weston, like end of the month? February 17th. So with that in mind, I know Nicole typically submits it for us. If there's a desire, because I was listening to Councilman Elliott, to separate, to take a look at our budget and say, how do we separate, if we want to have a separate line for
Travel, et cetera.
council travel versus council community events. Is that something you all would like me to do as your budget chair? Would you like me to look at that, and can I send it out to them or no? To review? No?
You can send it out to them, they'll have to report to you
Discuss
at one
it,
of
yeah.
these meetings. Yes.
Okay, so is that something you all, yes, sir, I'm sorry, yes, Councilman Henderson.
If it's the same amount of money, I would just rather it be all in one pot, because I may
Okay,
Yeah,
more
I agree.
travel than
okay,
district expense, I may use more district expense than travel.
right,
And I don't wanna be limited to, either one, so just, if it's
just one pot.
just one pot for each council person, if
Okay.
it's not
That's-
changing the number, then, I mean, besides to do the council.
I agree
Okay.
with Councilman Henderson. I like one
Gotcha,
pot.
one pot, okay.
Okay.
That's it?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Councilman Harvey, then Councilman Clark.
easy.
Well, I'll let Councilman Clark, I've got a separate question on something
Okay.
else.
It's to her point, about the separate pot, and so, just for clarity, my recommendations on the separatism, which is fine, you can keep it in one pot, but I think the amount of us being, the amount that we use for community should still be 10,000, but we should have a different allocated amount up to, I don't know what we travel with, 3 or 4,000. Essentially, if we're gonna keep it in a pot, then we should increase the amount, because there's travel, and then there's our community expenses related to supplies, technology. And I think, I really do believe they're separate when we travel versus what we reallocate back into the community. So if we're gonna keep it in a separate pot, then I recommend that in this upcoming budget cycle, to your question, that there is an increase,
In the actual.
so that
council
we
district.
can still travel and not interfere with our community district business, would be my recommendation.
Okay,
I know that's cringe, but, you know,
okay, I hear you.
Is this related to?
It is, just real
Okay,
quick,
let's hear Councilman.
real quick, I mean, I'd be interested in seeing of our budget of $90,000 or whatever it is, do we spend it every year? So is there money that's going unused? So is there, that might be a way to look at it. If we go back historically for 5 years or however many years, then, we end up with $45,000 left every year anyway after everybody spells their, then there's money, there's room in the budget to add that or not.
Right, and there was,
Okay.
there was
It may not have be every year, but
Yeah, it may
There's
not be every
always-
year.
that's why historically.
We've had
Yeah.
$100,000 left over.
And how much travel, and compared to, how much travel on an average have folks done over the last 5 years? Not that it can't change, because you've got people with different interests that want to bring in new information, but I think it would be helpful to see that first.
Okay, so the 5-year, kind of outlook of, our council budget over the last 5 years and what was left in each.
How much was used for travel, how
was
much
used-
was used for other expenses, and what was that amount, and then how much was left over? To see what we're talking about, because if there's only $5,000 left in the budget, then there isn't more money in travel, but
Right.
I don't think that's the case,
Well,
yeah.
I think being able to transfer will help.
And you got that as well as a backup, because I know everybody doesn't spend all their money.
yeah, like Chip Henderson.
Anyway, I just thought that would be helpful.
Oh, I'm sorry, say that out
You
loud.
can go back and research, and Chip Henderson has never spent all of his.
Okay, Councilman Harvey.
I want to go back to Councilman Elliott's P card question.
Yes.
One, if we did want to explore that, I know my business has used a card that is preloaded, so you can't spend X amount of, however, I do understand it would create a bookkeeping, you'd have to stay on top of your bookkeeping.
records issue.
And an open records issue, okay. Well, that was my second question, was I'd like to hear Councilwoman Dotley and Noel, Vice Chair Noel, sorry, y'all's thoughts on that, because I know you were opposed to that, and I'm interested why.
No, I just, P-card is just, added responsibility to be able to keep up with. I mean, when I use my funds, and mine is used for my district. So I always write on my ticket who and what it was for. And I that's the way I use it, just to have another card. I'll probably lose it anyway somewhere, but that's a possibility.
Okay,
Then
all
you'd
right,
be
fair.
up the creek without a paddle, but no, it's just, this right here works perfect for me.
Okay.
P-card might be what you want, but definitely not for me.
Yeah, and I'm kind of in the same wheelhouse with
Okay.
Vice Chair. It's just another layer of something I got to do.
Yeah.
As
Okay,
opposed
fair.
to just get my receipt,
And
give
turn
it
it
to
in.
the
Give it back
code and give it
and-
back and do that.
Yeah.
Now, I know for others, it's a convenience piece. Everybody can't give $500 to something right up front.
Right.
But some advice that was given to me from a previous council member was, when you get in here, set aside $500. And then you can just dig from that account and then get reimbursed, as you kind of go along, so that you're not in a in a rut if something comes up. So that's just kind of me, but it's just, to me, it's just another thing to do. But that's just my personal preference. You know, all these technology savvy young people, you know, they like the beep and bop, you know, with all the things.
You're getting old and you're like young people.
Yeah, the young people, but
We're the same age.
hard, put it down. You know, tab and all the things.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I'm not doing that.
Okay,
Stay current if you
Fair
want to stay relevant.
okay.
So we have one change for sure we want to see Phil make. Where do we land on pro tem? And do we have any other changes anybody wants to make?
Not a fan.
Yeah, I was planning on throwing some language like 8.3 of the charter in there.
Okay,
That's
all right,
all
so
right.
you give us some
Yeah.
information on pro tem and we'll get to, everybody will see that fresh document next week on the agenda. It'll be showing up. Okay, thank you all for such great conversation and ideas.
That's good.
Appreciate everybody. See you at 3:30.
Yeah.
Chairwoman,